I'm Gail and welcome to Gail's Low Carb Recipe Ideas, my YouTube channel. And if you want to check out my recipes, you go to lowcarbrecipeIdeas.com. So my YouTube channel is Gail's Low Carb Recipe Ideas, and then my website is lowcarbrecipeIdeas.com. Well, today I've been wanting sweets. I think I told you in one of my videos that I lost a few pounds, and I still have that desire for sweetness. So I just have the urge for a cinnamon roll. So they're very complicating to make, and I'm going to try and make a simple one for you. So let's get started and I'll show you how to make it. So the first thing we're going to do is I've got a bowl that I can put in the microwave. I have mozzarella cheese in here. I shredded it, and it is a cup and a half or 150 grams. Okay, so the next thing we're going to add in is 2 tablespoons of cream cheese. I'm using Philadelphia cream cheese, the full fat, and I always freeze mine, so I've taken it out of the freezer and it kind of broke them up into chunks when I was cutting it, but it's thawed out now. Doesn't really matter because we're going to put it in the microwave anyway. So that's 30 grams of cream cheese, or 2 tablespoons, or 1/8 of a cup. So we're going to put it in the microwave for approximately a minute, and hopefully it'll all melt. Every microwave is different. This took a minute. I stopped it probably about 40 seconds just to check with it to make sure it was okay. So I'm just going to stir it up a little bit. It's quite warm. And then we're going to add an egg. So I just want to cool this down a little bit. So I already beat my egg a little bit. This is warm, so I'm just going to do it quickly because I don't want it to really cook. Now I grabbed my miniature whisker, and I've been teased many a time with this little guy, but I got it with some little package. It had crackers in it. I think it had a little dip or something in it. But it comes in handy. It's a perfect size sometimes, so you can tease me if you'd like. That's up to you, but it really does come in handy. Okay, now we're going to add in our almond flour, and that's 3/4 cups of almond flour, which is about 72 grams. And we're adding in a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So I'm just going to put that in here, and I'm going to mix it up before I put it into the cheese. We'll just mix it up a little bit. Okay, we'll dump that in. I'll go back to my spatula and see if I can get it all mixed in nicely. All I can smell right now is cinnamon. I've got it all ready to go, and it smells so delicious. So I made it into a ball, and I put rubber gloves on because I find it doesn't stick compared to your hands. So that's why I do that. I have my little cutter here, and I'm going to cut them into 4. And then I'm going to take each one, and I'm just going to work on rolling it. Excuse me. Yeah, yesterday was a very busy day. My mother, she'll be 91 in August. She lives in a retirement home. I have not seen her physically, as in being able to touch her or anything, since we got home from Florida. I go every day and I see her through her window, which is way upstairs, but she's in the front of the building. So I get out of my car, I'll call her, and I will talk to her and see how she's doing. So that has not been fun. Well, yesterday I got a phone call, from my mom, at 8 o'clock in the morning, which was very unusual, and she was so disoriented. She didn't know what was going on, where she was. I called them downstairs and said, can you check on her? And they did, and they said she was normal. She seemed fine. So about an hour and a half later, I get a call from the nurse, and she says, your mom is doing some strange things like you had said, because I thought maybe she does have a little bit of dementia, so I thought maybe that's what it was, but the more I listened, it sounded like possibly she was having a mini stroke or having a stroke of some sort. So they wanted to send her to the hospital. So they gave me the option. I could come pick her up and take her, or they'll call an ambulance. And I thought, oh my goodness, they won't let me see her, but she's got to go to the hospital. And they're saying that I can come and get her. Well, I suggested that she use the ambulance, and then when she's done there, then I will go and get her, because they weren't going to let me in the hospital. Anyway, you're getting a long story out of this. So anyway, she got tested, and the stories got crossed, and they said that she did blood work and stuff like that, and they couldn't see any cause for alarm, and she seems to be coherent and everything while she's there. All right, I'm going to stop telling you a story for a minute so I can tell you what I'm doing here with my video. Okay, so that's a nice length. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to press them down. Okay. Yes, press them down, because we're going to add a little bit of butter. And then I'll tell you my story once I tell you what I'm doing here. So I'll continue with my story in a second, but I got to show you how to do this video, or how to bake these cinnamon rolls. So I had just a teaspoon of butter, and I am just going to put some butter, and I am using salted butter. You can use either. Oh, I dropped it on the countertop. So we're just going to put butter on top. I melted mine. It's easier that way. Okay, perfect. Now, the next thing we're going to do is, I'm going to take off my glove, because now it's got a little bit of stuff on it. Okay, we have two choices. I got a pile of stuff over here we got to get. We could either use Swerve brown sugar with cinnamon, or I just made my own, and I followed just Jackie's Low Carb on Facebook page, and I think she has a YouTube channel as well. She took her erythritol, a cup of it, and then she put in a teaspoon of molasses, and then pulsated it into her Ninja, and made it powdery, and made brown sugar. So I'm going to use the one that I made, but you can also use the brown sugar, the Swerve. So the measurements that I did for this one is I used a quarter a cup of erythritol, and a half a tablespoon of cinnamon, and I've mixed it. So now I'm going to put it on my strips. I think I'm going to have to get something better than that. That might work better. So, anyway, what happened with Mom was I get a phone call from the hospital, and Mom had fallen a couple of days ago, and she hurt her ankle, and it was very swollen, they said. So when she was in the hospital, that's all they focused on. They didn't focus on any of her behavior, her slur of speech, because when I got a phone call to pick her up, they said, she's good, we x-rayed, everything's fine with her foot. And I said, well, what about what's going on with her head? Because she does have a bit of dementia too. So anyway, they didn't realize that, they weren't told that, so they tested her and called me back an hour and a half later and said she was good to go. That they didn't see anything with the blood work or anything. So I went and picked her up, and I'll continue my story in a second. Oh, I need to have a little more down here. Okay, so now we're going to take this and we're going to roll them up. And don't roll them super, super tight. Just kind of lift them. Yeah, so they're not all super, super tight. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful. We'll do the next one. So anyway, I put my mask on, my gloves on, and I go pick her up at the hospital. And brought her home because I figured, I haven't seen her since the beginning of March. I miss her so much. And I was actually getting stressed because she's almost 91 and she's not going to be here forever. And I love her so much. So anyway, when I got her, she hasn't had a haircut. That's one of our issues, that I have somebody do her hair every morning at the home, so that she looks beautiful, because she's a beautiful lady. And she hasn't had her hair done in 2 months, hasn't had it cut, hasn't had it permed, nothing. So, got supper ready, I got out the scissors, and I cut my mom's hair. And oh my gosh, she looked like my mom again. Yeah, I do play around, cut my husband's hair. I just love doing that kind of stuff. So anyway. Okay, here we go. Can you see them all? Now I got to get my dish, and we're going to sprinkle the rest of the cinnamon sugar on the top. So I've just got my Pyrex dish, the 8x8, and we're going to set it in. And I sprayed it with avocado oil, because that's what I usually use. Now, I'm just going to set this aside for a second because I got a lot of sugar on here that I don't want to waste. Sorry about that. Okay, bring these back. You can see them. And hopefully I can just sprinkle the rest on. There we go. Now I've got the rest of my, make sure I've got them centered nice. There we go. And I've got the rest of my sugar. I'm just going to sprinkle them on top. Nice change. I think you're going to like these ones, guys. So anyway, I got Mom home. I cut her hair. I'll actually even put a picture in if you had seen what she looked like before. Oh, it was just pretty scary. Especially when my mom is so fussy. But you know what? She doesn't care anymore. She doesn't remember anything. She has a bit of dementia, and she's just confused, totally confused. So I was very happy that I got a chance to see her. And then what happens, midnight last night, I get a phone call, and they were quite concerned about her, and they didn't know if she should go back to the hospital. So we got it all worked out, and she seemed to be fine this morning. And yeah, lots of prayers I have for her. Anyway, we're ready. I've got the oven at 350. And we're going to put them in the oven for approximately 20 minutes until they, get larger and a little browner. But sometimes it's a little hard when I've got so much sugar on top. So anyway, let's see how they turn out. So I had them in the oven for 20 minutes, and they looked done to me, and they came out of the pan really easy. I just used the flipper. I was talking to my mom on the phone, so I kind of forgot to show it when I took them out of the oven. Anyway, I'm going to let them cool, and once they've cooled down a little bit, we'll give them a try. So I decided to do it 2 ways, because the ones I made, they were quite large, and I got 4 of them, and I thought I should make them a little smaller and make 8 of them. And also what I decided I wanted to do a comparison with you made the homemade brown sugar and put the cinnamon in. Well, I decided I'm just going to use my erythritol monk fruit regular. It's granulated. I didn't powder it or anything, and I put half a tablespoon of of cinnamon in. So I'm going to just doing a little experiment here, and I'm going to use my funnel. I thought maybe this might work a little better, trying to put my sugar and cinnamon onto the inside of my rolls. So we're just gonna, that was so much easier compared to what I did to the other one. And I didn't melt the butter. I just put, there we go. Now we're just gonna roll them up. And the butter I didn't melt, I just used my knife and I spread it on. Pinch that together. So I'm just going to roll them all up. So I've rolled 8 of them. I'm just going to put them in the pan, Pyrex dish. And then we're going to sprinkle the sugar and cinnamon on top. I've got to move these down here. And I've got to move this. There we go. Now, I've got my leftovers. We're just going to, because the big ones, I just thought they needed a little bit more. I just wanted to show the difference between just using erythritol and not powdering it. I'm just going to press them in because I want them to be nice and sweet. I could have probably even rolled in them and they would have been really good, which is a good idea as well. Anyway, we're going to put them in the oven, 350, for approximately 25 minutes, and we'll see how they turn out. Okay, here are my little cinnamon rolls. See the bottom, there's the top. They're really good. Now if I put that icing on top, it would even make it better. But I chose not to, but on my blog I will put the icing that you can put on top if you would like. I'm trying to keep the carb count low, and plus they're quite tasty like this. So I gave you 2 methods. This was my second method that I made 8 of them. One's already missing because my husband's already gotten into them. And I used, with this one, I used the regular granular erythritol monk fruit combination. I didn't puree it. I didn't make it powdered. And then I just add the cinnamon. So I'm going to take a bite and we will tell you the difference. Still tasty. Really good. I personally think I like these better. They seem a little sweeter. And I think maybe we should add a little bit more sugar on top just to make it sweeter. They're a nice little treat. They're a better size. The other ones I found were too big. So I'm just eating more than what I really need to be eating. So this is a perfect size, you can see here. Yeah. Now I did put the recipe on to put the icing on top, which would make a world of a difference. But these are quite tasty. Not bad. And very quick and easy to make. So that's the difference between the two. One I powdered and made it like into a brown sugar with some molasses. This one I just used plain old combination monk fruit and erythritol. I didn't powder it. Just added the cinnamon, put it on. Easier, and it worked really well. And the size is nicer. So anyway, we'll see you soon. Bye now.